And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
We love you. Love you.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not doing serious. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tight Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in to First Things First with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning. God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First, and my first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and let's go. We got a lot to do, a lot to say, and much to cover. The way we do things on Mondays, typically Mondays, go like this. Hour 1, we look local. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive on a hot topic or a person of interest. Of course, on Monday, we start our second hour with Mindful Monday, practicing a little guided meditation and breathing to start our week off in an intentional way. With Mindful Mondays, Sahara Ali leads that. Today, we'll be talking with Aisha Offray Deal. Haven't had an opportunity to meet her before, but we will take a look as she's been following the Diddy trial pretty closely, and she'll have some insights and updates. And of course, the phone lines are always open, 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. That's the number to call if you want to get in. I always love to hear from you. The other way in, our YouTube, KBLA 1580, the comment section is just percolating all the time. And I love to hear from our KBLA delegation there or on any of our social media platforms, which are at KBLA 1580 everywhere. Please like, follow, and subscribe. My partner in politics today, here to unpack and analyze and talk a little bit. Man, what a weekend, right? With the protests and the moves by the administration targeting California in general and LA specifically. We certainly have much to cover. She's done work in public, private, and nonprofit sectors, education, economic justice, public health, environmental justice, child welfare, and more. She's got over 2 decades of experience in leadership development, strategic planning, design thinking, grassroots community organizing, youth engagement, and so much more. She's got degrees in ethnic studies, urban studies, and planning. That's on the BA level, and a master's degree at public policy and urban planning. And she's also a community organizer. LaMikia Castillo, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Happy Monday.
Same to you. Man, your bio, we could just spend the whole time on that, but we're going to, they'll get to know it more and more of it. LaMikia's agreed to join me the first Monday of every month. And I note this is not the first Monday of every month, but I wasn't here the first Monday of the month. So we just pushed it till today. And I'm very appreciative that we were able to do so. So, man, crazy weekend, right? Starting Friday, anyone who was in LA pretty much knows that the Immigration Customs Enforcement team, I guess, wing of our law enforcement / military apparatus started rolling into LA and all the some of the surrounding areas. People seem to be confused. They don't understand that Paramount is a separate city, just like we went through this with the fires. Pasadena, Altadena, Malibu, they're all part of LA County, but they're not part of LA City. Hearing reports that there were ICE agents out in the Altadena, Pasadena area, and the pushback from the public has been pretty intense.
Very intense. Thousands and thousands of people out in the streets pushing back against what ICE is doing. The fact that they're ripping families apart, terrorizing our communities with, going into local businesses, going into schools, going into places of work. It's insane.
Yeah. And of course, we did a special. If you want to hear it, it's available wherever you get your podcasts. Yesterday, Tavis Smiley, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and myself anchored. We also had Attorney Dion Raymond, the Black Pac's Adrian Shropshire, and some other of our colleagues, Dr. Melina Abdullah, among those, talking about what was going on. And of course, even as we were talking about it, there was escalation with the National Guard being called in by the President of the United States. He had said 2,000. As far as we know, there are 200 on the ground right now, but that could be changing. And also the Secretary of Defense threatening to send in the Marines and claiming he has the Marines at Camp Pendleton, which is just a couple hours away from here, on high alert. What did you make of that?
One, I think it's a gross abuse of power of the president to call in the National Guard, which I don't know how many people understand the role of the National Guard in this country, but the National Guard is governed by both the governor of the state in which they are located as well as the president. And, when we think about the National Guard's role historically, I think of, looking at the civil rights movement, looking at Brown versus Board of Education, looking at when states in the South were not willing to allow Black children to go in schools, and the National Guard came and walked those children to the classrooms to make sure that they were safe from white supremacist protesters who didn't want the students there. So to see the president mobilize the National Guard and send them out against citizens who are, expressing our First Amendment rights, our right to free speech, our right to say this is not okay and to protest, is a gross abuse of power, especially when it's not in alignment with the leadership of our state or our city.
Yeah, there's a whole flipping of typical roles that's happening under this administration. As you point out, we've turned to the feds to get civil rights investigations and trials, even as early on as the national, as you said, the National Guard coming in for the Rodney King case. They were here in a role in 92, but it was because they were called in by the mayor and the governor. And now we've got the opposite. We've got the mayors plural, because Paramount has its own mayor, and our mayor, Karen Bass, along with Governor Gavin Newsom, saying we don't need the National Guard. This is not an emergency. Yes, there's protesters. Some of them were rather lively, but nothing out of control. The whole city is not going crazy like you would think if you watch the news, because they'll take a clip of a clash and then they'll make it seem like it's everywhere. And LA is a huge place. And then, the role that you point out, LaMikia, of bolstering civil rights, where the feds come in to bolster our civil rights or to do what states won't do in racist states. Right now we have the opposite. Here we have a progressive state who's saying, please don't come, and they're sending National Guard to arrest people, including people that we know are citizens, people that we know are here legally, like Mr. David Huerta of SEIU, who has a hearing today, which I believe the Trump administration may have really poked the hornet's nest with this one, because national labor leaders are coming in from all over the country to stand in support and solidarity with Mr. Huerta at his court hearing today.
Right. I mean, I don't know if people understand the breadth of what is really taking place. As you mentioned, Paramount is a small city. I don't even know what the size of Paramount is, but LA County is large. The city of LA, LA County is large. The city of LA is large. But these smaller cities have expressed that they don't need National Guards coming in. You have, people who are just going to work. Home Depot, a few blocks from where I live, was one of the first places where we saw ICE raids take place on Monday. People were just going to buy their, home supplies, and here they are being attacked by immigration enforcement. And then one of those people being David Huerta, who is a labor leader. And, I think when you think about the solidarity between workers and unions and low wage workers in particular, and immigrant communities, you have definitely poked the hornet's nest and are calling people out, I think in droves, who are going to support not just David Huerta, but the families that are being attacked and ripped apart by what Trump is doing.
And the thing that people aren't understanding is that ICE came in and they set up shop across the street from the Home Depot. And then we did hear, and we'll play some of that audio for you shortly. The mayor was on with us yesterday morning, as was the Sheriff Luna, Mayor Karen Bass. And the sheriff confirmed that there was a Black Hawk helicopter that came in right on the border between Compton and I believe it was Paramount. And he couldn't confirm the contents. The rumor going around is that the contents was non-lethal or so-called less lethal weaponry and ammunition. But the sheriff said, and like I said, we'll play some of that audio, but he said they weren't able to confirm what was in it. And I bring that up because there's a lot of rumors going on, right? But we're just like when we saw with the arrest of my brother Raz Baraka, with the White House is saying he stormed the ICE facility, which he did no such thing. He was there in his capacity as mayor to welcome the lawmakers who were trying to inspect the facility. So I think it's important that we do some rumor control. A lot of the initial protests were reactions to what ICE was doing. And in Paramount, they created from my understanding, they created a bit of a traffic jam with their activities, and then people started getting angry. And so a lot of the unrest is actually, from what I've been able to unpack, reaction to. It's not that people in LA were just going crazy. It's that ICE started doing what people didn't think they were going to do, which is going to elementary schools, going to people's jobs. And a lot of folks believe that hype that they were going to target criminals. And what they're seeing is their neighbors, friends, and just little kids being people going to court for their check-ins that are trying to comply with immigration law, and then they're getting snatched up by masked men and taken places where it's not always easy to find them. So it's really important for people to understand that most of the time it's a reaction to ICE. It's not that people are just wilding out in these streets.
Nobody's out here wilding out in these streets except ICE. ICE is wilding out in these streets. They're snatching up babies. This is kidnapping. It's kidnapping, right? People are just going to work. They're not committing any crimes. And if you listen to Trump and the Department of Homeland Security, they make it seem like the people who are out here protesting are the criminals too, and they deserve to be arrested like David Huerta. We have a right to protest what is happening in our community. This is Los Angeles, right? I love Tupac. You love Tupac. What did Tupac say? It wouldn't be LA without Mexicans. And we're not just talking about Mexican immigrants, so we have a lot of them here in Los Angeles. We're talking about Haitian immigrants. We're talking about immigrants from Honduras and Central America, many of whom have African and indigenous ancestry, are being snatched up. Their families are being ripped apart. To me, this does not look very much different from our families being ripped apart during slavery, right? Our ancestors were enslaved. We didn't have any choice in the matter. You go out into the field, you make somebody upset, and next thing you know, you're being taken away, your child is being taken away. I hope that people are seeing the connection and how when these things happen, we have an obligation to fight back, and we have a right to fight back. We have a right to stand up against this fascism. That's what it is. It's fascism, straight up.
LaMikia Castillo is here. You're invited in, 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Are you ready to play? Then jump into the LA 84 Foundation's free Playdate Block Party, a community celebration for all ages, including live music, dancing, LA's pro sports teams, great local food trucks, plus special giveaways for you to take home. Enjoy an exciting, fun-filled day for the entire family. Join us Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2141 West Adams Boulevard. To register, go to la84.org. We'll see you Saturday, June 28th at LA 84 Foundation's free Playdate Block Party.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PUSH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PUSH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
We're back to me, and we're back to LaMikia Castillo. We're back to you if you call us at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Let's see. Jamal Hakim says the Trump Gestapo is in town, saying that in the YouTube chat. And CW Real Estate says we protested here before without it escalating like this. People are angry and will respond to force with force. It's time to break from the Constitution and push for secession. I mean, there is there is secession on the ballot. I don't see that happening, actually. But I do think it's important, as you pointed out, LaMikia, to not normalize this. It is not normal for the National Guard to be called in for a few local protests. It is not normal to threaten to send in the Marines for a few local protests. That is an extreme escalation. And the last time the National Guard was called into a city without the request or permission of the mayor or governor was 1992, I believe. It's not something that happens every day. And so I think when my brother, the Honorable Mayor Raz Baraka, was arrested trying to do his job in the city of which he's mayor in Newark, New Jersey, I said this is the first black elected that they have arrested, and I just don't believe it will be the last.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about, what happened with your brother, and you're absolutely right. If we think that this is normal, we start to normalize it and we accept it, how are we any different than, what we've seen in history, for example, in Germany with the Nazis, going in and taking over? This is absolutely a Gestapo. That's exactly what this is. Donald Trump and his administration should not have the authority to do what they've done and call in the National Guard. They should not be threatening people with the Marines, because we have a right. I just can't emphasize it enough. We have a right to be able to protest what is happening. These unjust immigration laws, they're morally corrupt, the things that are happening at the federal level. And we know that there's some tension between Governor Newsom and President Trump, who doesn't even acknowledge Governor Newsom by his name. And he's talked a lot of trash about the mayor of LA, and for all the qualms that we have here, we still have leadership in the state and in the city, and they have a right to make decisions about, what should and shouldn't happen with regards to calling in federal forces or the National Guard, which, has this dual role that they play with the federal and at the local level. And here he is taking over that authority, taking over their authority and saying, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do.
Some people may have missed this because there was so much news going on over the weekend, LaMikia, but the police chief of Los Angeles, Jim McDonnell, who used to be the sheriff, initially said, look, we don't need the National Guard. We don't need Homeland Security. The LAPD has got this. But yesterday, late in the day, the former sheriff, the police chief, was quoted in the LA Times saying that because of the level of what he saw in the streets, the level of violence that he saw downtown yesterday, that he was starting to think that he should reverse his decision, that he was starting to think that maybe we do need the National Guard, which was really a trip for me to hear that, to read that, because the LAPD has dealt with a lot of things without the National Guard. And then you have now Trump calling on the LAPD chief to request the National Guard. He's calling out McDonnell because he knows that it's illegal for him to. He's used some law that is rarely used that says in case of an insurrection or potential insurrection against the government, that the president can call in the National Guard and override the governor. The governor is going to sue him, challenge that in court today, and it's not likely to hold up to court scrutiny. So that's why Trump is saying the police chief needs to call in the National Guard. And I wonder if McDonnell is caving because of that statement that was quoted on yesterday.
I also saw that in the news. I thought I saw it from what happened overnight, and Jim McDonnell saying that, things were getting out of hand from his perspective, and that he did say that this is what was taking place at nighttime, not during the day when people who he believed, were out exercising their First Amendment rights and were not causing chaos, that they, that this was a different group of people. But I'm going to tell you, honestly, I'm not surprised that Jim McDonnell would go out and recant what he said and kind of lean more toward things are getting a little bit out of control. This is LAPD. I don't trust LAPD to protect and serve the way that they claim that they're supposed to. I think you know that about me. And when you look at those images, even before the National Guard, the way that LAPD was coming out in force against people, they're a military apparatus just like the military is, and they do work in compliance with with the federal government and ICE. And even though they're not supposed to, in the state of California, we actually have a policy, SB 54, that says that local governments are not supposed to use their resources to support ICE and immigration authorities in our cities. But I don't see law enforcement going against other law enforcement. That blue line, I know it's for for police officers, but I don't see them working against their federal military forces in this country and being in alignment with them.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I mean, there was some sniping back and forth yesterday with the head of the National Guard criticizing the LAPD and the LAPD criticizing the National Guard. And you're right, that was very rare to see that, and I'm pretty sure they're closing ranks right now. News, traffic, and sports right now, and we are going to continue this conversation. You're welcome in. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. 6 people are hospitalized after a skydiving plane crashed in Tullahoma, Tennessee. Here's Tullahoma City Administrator Jason Quick.
The plane experienced an unknown issue that resulted in the impact with both the trees and terrain.
The aircraft carrying 20 people went down shortly after takeoff. 2 were airlifted, 4 taken by ambulance. The FAA and NTSB are now investigating. Heads up, travelers, a Costco card won't get you through TSA checkpoints. Despite having a photo and name, it's not a valid ID. TSA reminds flyers to bring federally approved ID like a passport or driver's license to meet real ID requirements. And Kilmar Abrego Garcia, mistakenly deported to El Salvador, now faces new U.S. charges tied to human smuggling. The Trump administration alleges gang ties, but his lawyers say he fled violence and built a life in Maryland. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA Finals is tied up at 1-1. The Oklahoma City Thunder rebounded from a traumatic loss in Game 1 with a 123-107 win over the Indiana Pacers. Another magnificent game from NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 34 points and 8 assists. SGA has 72 points in the first 2 games in the finals. That's the highest 2-game total in NBA history for a player competing in his first finals. The next 2 games are in Indianapolis. Game 3 is Wednesday night. The Dodgers beat St. Louis Sunday 7-3. They start a 3-game series tonight in San Diego. The Angels lost at home to Seattle 3-2. Angels batters struck out 18 times. The Angels start a 3-game series tonight at home against Oakland. UCLA's baseball team is in the College World Series for the first time since 2013. The Bruins beat Texas San Antonio 7-0 to win the LA Super Regional. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When you turn to the Employment Development Department, we'll help you get there. Whether it's support for you and your family while you find a new job, or the resources to focus on your recovery after illness or injury, we can help you move forward. From support while you bond with your newborn, to helping serve your family while your partner serves our country. Your EDD. We'll help you get there. For more information, visit edd.ca.gov.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent. And the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key. Fly privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews.
Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and
Over the years, Lionel has catered most major black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and more. And of course, hot water cornbread, satisfying drinks, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So, head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text EQUAL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text EQUAL to 321-321. That's EQUAL to 321-321.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
LaMikia Castillo is an educator, community organizer, and a professor. She joins me this morning. We're talking right now. We're really unpacking what's been going on in LA pretty much since Friday when ICE, Immigration's Custom Enforcement, started descending on the LA area, LA County, to be clear. And I think it's important to be clear, LaMikia, because people, here we go with the Trump administration again, and national news, particularly Fox News, that doesn't know anything about LA. LA's a huge county, right? Bigger than some states, that encompasses many cities. Many of those cities have their own mayors. LA has Mayor Karen Bass. I don't even know the name of the mayor of Paramount. Malibu has a mayor. Culver City has a mayor. Just to be clear, it's Peggy Lemons is the mayor of Paramount. Anyway, just to put it in context, and we're talking about very small cities and a huge city in the middle. And if you look at Paramount, there's a lot of immigrants there. But to your point, LaMikia, about Tupac, he says it wouldn't be LA without Mexicans. He also says we might fight amongst each other, but I promise you this, and you know how the rest of it goes, right? So,
right.
Your other point about we have Chicanos and we have migrants, and many of our Chicano or Latino residents are not immigrants. They've been here for generations, and so and they may have family members who have differing immigration status. So when you talk about that impacting the city, especially when they start taking kids out of schools, you're hitting generations of people. You're hitting the heart of LA. And although some black folks I've seen on social media making the point that this is not our fight, this is a Latino fight or a Haitian fight or whatever, we live together. It's not like we're separate or we're in silos. I mean, black and Latino people in LA live side by side for the most part. There are some neighborhoods, that are strictly Mexican or Salvadorian or whatever, Central American. But for the most part, we live together in the same communities.
We do. We live together in the same communities. And I think, my argument to this, so in addition to teaching policy classes, I used to teach Black, Latino, and Latin American relations at Cal State LA. And for folks who do not know, my family, half of my family, one side of my family is from Panama, which is in Central America, and we are Black Latinos who immigrated to this country. And the other half of my family is from the U.S. Multiple generations back, came over as enslaved folks, you know, through the transatlantic slave trade to both of those countries, right? To the United States before it was the United States, and also to Panama. And I think that what a lot of people, what I'm hearing when folks say, this is not our fight, you know, we've been fighting for a long time, nobody's been here to support us. In this particular case, and this argument, when it comes to Latino folks, when it comes to Black folks, and, you know, what that historical solidarity has looked like, I think it's important for people to understand that our education system has deprived us of real information about how Mexico, for example, was a fleeing place for Africans who were enslaved in Texas and, you know, other parts of the South. We learn about folks fleeing to the north, but people actually fled to the south as in Mexico. Why was that? Because Mexico was one of the first countries in the Americas to abolish slavery. Why did Mexico abolish slavery? Because when the indigenous people of Mexico got free from Spain, right, when they got their independence from Spain, they said, we don't want to have enslaved Africans here. We don't support slavery. And so they said, we're abolishing slavery in almost 40 years before the United States did. So when we look at this historical context, when we look at the argument that people are making, you know, our ancestors have been enslaved here. And I agree with that. My ancestors were enslaved in this country, and we absolutely have fought for a long time. But this idea that somehow, because, you know, we're talking about immigrants from other countries, that this is not our fight because they haven't been on our side, that's just simply not the case. And also, we live in California, in Los Angeles, California, which is, it was Mexico, right? It was Mexico. That's where we live. And so we are actually living in land that was stolen, not just from, you know, indigenous Americans, but specifically from folks who this used to be Mexico before the U.S.-Mexico treaty, where this land was also stolen and taken to become, you know, part of the United States. So I think that all of that matters. And there's so many connections, right? When you mentioned my resume, this is why I studied all the things that I studied, because having that experience of having family members who immigrated here from a country that was also U.S. territory, having family members, you know, and ancestors who come from the United States as enslaved Africans, and understanding that all of these things are interconnected, and that our education, the same education that, you know, the Trump administration is continually attempting to eliminate, we have not been given the right to the actual truth about how our ancestors, you know, how Mexico was aligned with our ancestors and actually helped us, supported folks who wanted to get free. And that was a big part of the tension between the U.S. and Mexico. And I think that history is so critical for people to understand, especially when we're trying to make the argument, or people who are making the argument that we shouldn't be here supporting them because they never supported us. That's just not the case.
Yeah, Mexico did abolish slavery 50 years before the United States did. Quite a few of us, our ancestors, left out and went there. And it's something that Mexico also has to have a reckoning with, because a lot of Mexicans are in denial about what progressive scholars in that country to the south call el tercer raíz. No, I'm not. I don't have Latino in my family tree. But I just speak Spanish because I'm nosy. But it means the third root. And there is a lot of African blood in a lot of Mexican people, in case you're ever wondering why you see some that are more chocolate than you, or more chocolate than me, or more chocolate than the next man or woman. That's because they have African blood flowing in their veins. So that is a great point. I do think that you know, yeah, what do they call it? Aslan. This used to be Mexico. Like my bonus mama, Mina Baraka, says, if you go to a place that used to be Mexico, don't be surprised if you find Mexicans. But that, you know, at the same time, okay, the U.S. won that war. They took the territory. That's the way that goes. And I'm not, you know, I understand your point, but it's the U.S. now, and we do have a border. That said, though, I think this idea like we're separate species, or we're somehow not in alignment at all. It's coming from people who are either mad about something, that live here who are mad about something they had a bad experience, or it's coming from people who have no idea about LA, the same people that don't know that Malibu has its own mayor.
Sure. Yeah, and I think from my perspective as an educator, I do think a lot of this has to do with this idea of nativism, right? Especially the idea that somehow if you're born in this country, you are superior. You're superior to others. You deserve more than other folks, and not understanding the plight of why people are coming to this country in the first place, and that so much of why people are fleeing their countries and coming to this country is because of things that our country is doing in their countries, right? The harms that are being caused, the way that, people's jobs and their homes and their land are being stolen by, American companies and corporations that are taken over in these other spaces. And so, I think that, again, all of these things are interconnected, and we just lack that knowledge. So many of us lack that knowledge and information and don't have that global understanding. And I know you talk about this in the third hour, the things that are happening around the globe. I just wish that we had our own kind of education system to help people understand our own, meaning like Black folks. We really need to get this education. We need to know about not just what's taught in the classroom about our ancestors being enslaved, but slavery across the Americas and where other folks went and how that is impacting the migration patterns that take place today. Because again, if we understand history, then if we understand where we come from, we understand where we're going. And we also understand why these things are happening and why the Trump administration is, on the one hand, saying we need to get these immigrants out, but the immigrants he's talking about are very specific immigrants, Black and brown immigrants, folks who are coming from places like Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, right? But not talking about immigrants from South Africa, which he is proudly saying, let's bring these folks in because, they're dealing with anti-white racism in South Africa, and we need to protect them, and they're coming with resources. He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth, and I don't want Black folks to continue, the folks that I'm seeing who are saying this is not our fight, we should sit this out, to fall into this idea that we are not, we're removed from whatever is happening, and that this is not going to have an impact on us, because it does, and it always has.
Well, there's so many layers to what you're saying right there. First of all, we're trying to rebuild Altadena, Pasadena, right? Which is a lot of Black people's houses. And those folks that are being arrested at the Home Depot and detained are part of that rebuilding plan, whether y'all want to acknowledge that or not, right? There's that. There's the fact that we, as you said, we have these historical solidarities going back. Y'all know I sat on the board of Community Coalition for something like 15 years. And that organization is famous for getting progress in South LA through coalition. So I've seen it. Latinos and African Americans banded together to get A through G requirements in the schools. We didn't have those advanced placement classes in our South LA schools. We do now. Why? Because African American and Latino people banded together. We wouldn't have had a Mayor, Tom Bradley, who was the first Black mayor and a longtime mayor of LA, if Black and Latino people didn't stand shoulder to shoulder. We wouldn't have had Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who was a Latino mayor who also happened to be a progressive and put in place a lot of policies that positively impact Black people in LA. If it wasn't for Black and Latino people both deciding to back up Villaraigosa, that would not have happened. Same with Obama, and it goes on and on and on. So I think even if you're reacting, I saw one person who I'm rather, who I'm friends with, posting on socials that Latinos call us the N-word all the time, so therefore we shouldn't stand with them. Well, I mean, yeah, there's ignorance and racism, no doubt. I've seen it. But are you going to say you don't say the same thing about your white allies because white people in the South, lynched us? We shouldn't be allies with any white people. That, to me, that's not logical.
No, I think it's completely illogical, and especially because when you look at the material conditions of how we're living, Black folks in this country, and especially here in Los Angeles, as you mentioned, we live in communities with Latino folks. And we are in the similar conditions. Our children are in schools together, right? We work together. We should have a vested interest in each other's and being in solidarity with each other, because when we lift each other up, we're actually able to see some progress, because what the federal government is doing, what Trump is doing, he's attacking us. He's attacking us. He's attacking black folks. He's attacking brown folks. And I don't know, this, I do understand when people say things like they're saying the N-word, but somebody saying the N-word, does that really constitute, or does that justify their families being ripped apart, babies being left without parents? To me, there's a big jump there, right? Be angry at them, go talk, like they need to understand that that's not acceptable. But to jump to that, therefore, because they're saying the N-word, we should just be okay with them having their families ripped apart, children being left to go into the foster care system, parents being put in a detention center. I don't understand that mindset at all.
Well, and the fact of the matter is that is not. That's not everybody. It's not like all Mexican people or Chicano people are secretly calling us mayates in their free time. There's problem elements in most communities. Why? Because we've been subject to the system of white supremacy for literally hundreds of years. And it is a global system where you see the same thing in Mexico. I've been there. The shadeism there that they have within their own communities, where the rubio, the blonde, white-looking Mexicans are the only ones on TV, and the darker ones, which they disparagingly call Indio or Indian, get less. So the system of white supremacy is in effect there as well as here, and that's something we fight against. But I just don't think that it shouldn't give you the impression that all Mexicans are secretly going N-word, N-word, N-word. It's always a good time to call me and LaMikia, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. We're unapologetically outspoken, unapologetically progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Every mother deserves a healthy and joyous pregnancy and birth. And every baby deserves to thrive. That's why the Los Angeles County Abundant Birth Project is here. The Abundant Birth Project is a guaranteed income program that provides cash during pregnancy to pregnant individuals at the highest risk of preterm and low birth rate babies. Although program enrollment has closed, our commitment to Black joy and thriving continues. Through tailored services that foster mental well-being and community-based resources, we provide care and support during pregnancy and after the baby is born to help build brighter futures for our families. Join us in celebrating abundant births in LA County. For more information, please visit abundantbirthproject.org. abundantbirthproject.org. Are you ready to play? Then jump into the LA 84 Foundation's free Playdate Block Party, a community celebration for all ages, including live music, dancing, LA's pro sports teams, great local food trucks, plus special giveaways for you to take home. Enjoy an exciting, fun-filled day for the entire family. Join us Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2141 West Adams Boulevard. To register, go to la84.org. We'll see you Saturday, June 28th at LA 84 Foundation's free Playdate Block Party.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at Enel Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other black influencers in the climate and health fields, as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
So at this point, Miles, you have that clip ready? Should we play it now? All right. I want you to listen to this, LaMikia, and get your reaction to it. This is LA County Sheriff Robert Luna, as he appeared on our special yesterday morning about the protests here in Los Angeles. As an observant and myself being an activist as well, it's hard to see the credibility in these ideas of sanctuary policies for cities when it appears that the Sheriff's Department and the LAPD are backing up ICE in arresting, containing, terrorizing our citizens.
Yeah, that's a legitimate question, but just for clarity for all of our community members, we at the Sheriff's Department do not participate in civil ICE immigration enforcement. That's not what we do. We have enough of our own business to take care of in protecting our communities. But this is where I emphasize that if you have federal law enforcement officers here, and whether we agree or disagree with what they're doing, if they end up calling for help because they are violently being attacked, we as law enforcement have to go in there and assist. Just like if you or anybody, one of your neighbors, is calling because you're violently being attacked, we don't have a choice. We have to go in there and we have to assist. But there's a clear delineation between what the federal partners do in their role and what we're doing in our role. But my main message there is, do not attack federal law enforcement. Do not attack local law enforcement. But that doesn't mean you can't protest. Yeah. You cannot make your voices heard loud and clear. We support that part of it.
Your response to Sheriff Luna, LaMikia?
I was trying so hard not to laugh at the absurdity of some of what he was saying, right? Like this idea that, if they call us, then we have an obligation to come in and support them if they're being attacked. They're the ones attacking us. They're the ones attacking our community. And so by his logic, then shouldn't the community be able to just call up the police and say, hey, ICE is over here snatching up my mom. They're snatching up my child from the school, or my cousin or my neighbor. Come out here and stop ICE from doing what they're doing. That's in my mind, that's what I would want to see, is if law enforcement, which I don't have any faith in what they're able to do, because again, I don't see them as protecting and serving us, that if by his own logic, we should be able to call them up and say we're being attacked by ICE, but that's not exactly how it's working. We know that. We all know that. They're not going to come out because ICE is snatching people up. They're going to come out to say, hey, we're going to support our fellow law enforcement officers, our fellow militarized apparatuses, in suppressing the people who are here to protest what's happening. Even if he says that they agree with people's right to protest, they've never protected our right to protest.
Yeah, it's a weird time, because as you pointed out, the state of California has laws that say law enforcement is not supposed to be spending their resources to turn people over to immigration. The city of LA has a policy that they're not supposed to be taking people from the jails and turning them over to immigration. The county sheriffs have a less, from what I can see, from my interpretation, a less stringent policy. But they're not meant to be serving as Border Patrol or enforcement. And we're already seeing that migrants, even people who aren't migrants, who could be mistaken as such, are not showing up to court because ICE is there snatching people up. And that's one of the reasons for those policies, is because if you have an immigrant or migrant or undocumented person who's a witness to a crime, or a participant in an accident or something, we don't want them to be too scared to participate in the court system. Looks like we are back to that right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, ICE is showing up to the courts and literally detaining people. And law enforcement, the local law enforcement, the Sheriff's Department, LAPD, other police departments in LA County, they're not there to protect those individuals either. So that's why I say he's talking out of both sides of his mouth, and it's laughable to me, kind of what he was saying. I believe that if it's true, you know, what he said, if you can call, when one of your neighbors calls and they're being attacked, we have an obligation to show up. I can give you countless examples of how that actually does not happen in our communities. It just doesn't, you know. Yeah. The police don't show up and protect and serve any of us, from what I've seen and what I've personally experienced in this city. And I'm born and raised here.
LaMikia Castillo, 30 seconds here. Tell us how to track you and all the work you're doing.
You can track me. You can barely track me, but
good luck with that.
If you need to socially, I'm barely on there. Yeah, good luck with that. At LaMikia Castillo, LaMikia Castillo.
Yeah. Another idea, just check us out the first Monday of the month, first thing in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, LaMikia.
Thank you for having us. And I encourage everybody, please stand in solidarity. We all have an obligation to fight against this morally corrupt government that we're living under right now. This fascist regime won't end unless we stand in solidarity and fight against it together.
We got Mindful Monday next, getting your mind right for the week. Then the phone lines are wide open, and I'll share what the mayor had to say as well. All that straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. 6 people are hospitalized after a skydiving plane crashed into...
The plane experienced an unknown issue that